அவங்களுக்கு பிரச்சனையா? கேமரா என்ன பேசுறது கஷ்டமா இருக்கு. நம்ம யாருமே இல்லையே, ஒருவேளை அதனால பிரச்சனை இல்லை. Hello, Anishwara. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So I couldn't see your face.
Oh, yeah. Okay, ma'am.
I think you have to enable the video also.
Okay. Can you see me, ma'am?
Yeah. Good. But mine is not coming. That's why.
Oh.
The version line view. Ask me for connecting. Hello.
Ma'am, could you try logging out and logging in, joining the meeting again, ma'am?
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay.
We'll go ahead. Okay, just okay. I'll try to. Thanks. Sorry, Anishwara. Sorry for the small delay. Not getting the video still. Okay, I'm trying to get one more thing. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We continue till then. You have all the pictures, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I'll
Yes.
screenshot.
Good morning to all. Start presenting, Anishwara.
Okay, I'll screenshot the picture, ma'am.
Yeah. Start with the picture. Okay, the photo which has been sent, and then you start.
Okay.
Yeah, shortly I'll be joining you with the video, but I'm there, no? I'm audible, no? So
yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
The screen's visible, ma'am?
Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. So this is a patient today. For today,
Hmm. Very good.
patient. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, present. Start presenting.
The
Yes.
patient is a 38-year-old male. He is conscious, tachypneic, oriented to time, place, and person.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Um, and he's well built and well nourished.
Okay.
Pallor is present with koilonychia or spoon-shaped nails.
Mm.
Bilateral pitting pedal.
You finish. You present. Okay. At the end of it, we'll start discussion. Okay. No worries. I won't interfere. Yes.
Okay, ma'am. After systemic exam.
But go slowly, but audibly and clearly. Yes.
Okay, ma'am.
Mm.
Okay, bilateral pitting pedal edema is present of the slow rising type. There's no cyanosis, no icterus, no clubbing, or no significant generalized lymphadenopathy present. Shall I show the videos of the findings also, ma'am?
You start. Yeah, you do. Like how you do the cardiovascular exam, you present.
Okay, ma'am. So, uh, this is the picture of the patient's nails. We can see that koilonychia is present, spoon-shaped
Very
depression,
good. Yes, very good. Yes.
and
Mm.
pallor is also seen.
Yes.
And as for the pedal edema,
Mm.
is the video visible?
Okay. Yes. Yes. Go ahead. Mm. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. So that was the patient's pedal edema, and
Continue. Continue presenting.
the vitals, the pulse rate was 102 beats per minute. It had a regular rhythm. It was normal volume and character. No radio radial delay was present, and no radiofemoral delay. All peripheral pulses were felt. The patient's blood pressure, systolic BP was 112 millimeters of mercury. Diastolic BP was 82 millimeters of mercury. The respiratory rate of the patient was 24 breaths per minute. The patient is tachypneic. Temperature, the patient has a temperature of 100.4 Fahrenheit. The patient is febrile. And JVP was, jugular venous pressure was found to be elevated. And this is a picture of the patient's
So you
dissected.
stop there. We'll show it later. Yes.
Oh,
You
okay, ma'am.
continue presenting. Yes. Mm.
Okay. Now, moving on to the CVS examination. On inspection, the
Yeah.
chest wall appears to be symmetrical. The trachea appears to be the midline. Apical impulse is visualized at the left fifth intercostal space, lateral to the mid-clavicular line. No pulsations, scars, sinuses are present over the precordium. On palpation, trachea was confirmed to be in the midline. Apex beat was palpable in the left fifth intercostal space. Once lateral to the mid-clavicular line, it had a tapping character. The P2 was palpable. Left parasternal heave was present, and there were no thrills over the precordium. On auscultation, the mitral area S1 and S2 were heard. S1 was soft, and there was a rough rumbling grade 2 mid-diastolic murmur heard in the mitral area with bell of stethoscope, with the breath held in expiration in left lateral position. In tricuspid area, S1 and S2 were heard. In pulmonary area, S1 and S2 were heard, and P2 was loud. In aortic area, S1 and S2 were heard. Moving on to other systems examinations, in the respiratory system, bilateral basal crackles were heard. On per-abdominal examination, the abdomen was soft, there was no tenderness, no organomegaly. And on CNS examination, there was no focal neurological deficit. So, clinical.
Okay. We'll stop there.
Yes,
Okay. Right. You started with the general examination.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you are seeing the patient now. You said he is well built. This patient is tachypneic. Though he looks well built, what are the other things you can look into the patient on general examination? What are the other things you can pick up?
We could do a head-to-toe exam. Yes, ma'am.
Look at the chest. What is the abnormality he has got? Anybody?
Ma'am, he possibly looks like pectus excavatum.
Pectus excavatum. What else?
Um,
People can answer, so don't be mute.
Gynecomastia.
Yeah, exactly. Very good. So this patient obviously has gynecomastia, isn't it? So what
yes,
does it say? What are the inference?
maybe the patient might
What are the causes for the bilateral gynecomastia?
it could be possible possible liver disease, associated liver disease.
Very good. That's a common thing. Yes. See, this patient cardiovascular system we are examining, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So what does it say? This patient has got gynecomastia. What does it say? He must be on what?
Drug induced, ma'am.
Spironolactone.
Exactly. Spironolactone. See, these are all small things. Okay, it will imply. So, this a common things are common, and again, so this is if this is a cardiovascular system, this could be due to the, either spironolactone, and what else can cause? Even digoxin. Okay, digoxin also can cause gynecomastia. Okay, so but very commonly the spironolactone, exactly. And what else? You said he is looking well built. See, he is overloaded. Okay, he's distended. So that doesn't mean. Okay, so he's well built. So if there's a well built patient, why should he come to the hospital with all these complaints, isn't it? So you should say this patient is having anasarca. Okay, what is his abdomen? His abdomen is normal, it's distended, and it is, again, he looks like he's having a fluid retention in the abdomen also,
Yeah.
isn't it? So general examination, you should spend some 1 minute, 30 seconds to 1 minute to see head to foot to pick up the findings, not simply rushing. Okay, well, you appreciated the anemia. We just wanted to have a look, right? Yes. What are the causes? We all know the anemia is a precipitating factor for anemia. So how do you relate anemia to the cardiovascular system? What are the causes?
Ma'am, heart failure in itself can cause anemia, and
Heart failure, why should it cause anemia?
because it's a chronic disease, so
Early satiety, okay? Because of the gastric condition, okay, they cannot eat well. So that could be the thing. And again, okay, so infective endocarditis.
yes, ma'am.
See, that's what I want to point out. So you just read out what's been given to you. You missed out the markers for. So though you said temperature, patient is having fever. Why did you miss the markers of infective endocarditis?
I couldn't see
Say
any.
markers of infective endocarditis.
This splinter hemorrhages could be there.
No. Did you say in the presentation? Did you emphasize on the markers of infective endocarditis?
No, ma'am, I couldn't see any.
Hello,
ma'am.
Can you?
No,
Yeah.
I couldn't see any, ma'am.
You couldn't see doesn't mean you should not say, madam. You have to say in the presentation. Okay, so general examination. See, for all the systems, for the respiratory system means you have to say markers of tuberculosis and HIV. So for the abdomen, you should say markers for the chronic liver disease. Like that, for the cardiovascular system, you should say markers for any congenital heart disease, markers for the infective endocarditis, and markers for the rheumatic fever if possible. Okay, these are all mandatory. And again, for the central nervous system, markers for the any chronic neurological thing also. The neurocutaneous markers you have to point out. So these all should go without saying. This is the presentation.
Okay.
You understand what I mean?
I'd have to mention if it's not there, ma'am, or
I didn't get you.
I'd have to mention even if it's not there, ma'am, as negative.
Yeah.
Okay.
How do we know that whether you examine the patient thoroughly or not? Unless otherwise you tell us.
Okay.
So if you tell only the positive findings, there are the important negative findings. Why did you say the patient is having fever? Because we said he is having temperature. So what does it imply? What are the commonest cause of the fever in the cardiovascular system?
It could be because of infective endocarditis, or it could even be because of the recurrent respiratory tract infections.
Yes, yeah, all it could be. Then how will you differentiate without you are looking for the markers of infective endocarditis? And even with a myocardial infarction, early 3 days, patient can have temperature. That's why we have leukocytosis. Okay, so there are so many things. There may be concurrent, any incidental infections also could be there. We cannot say that this patient having severe volume overload. Okay, he can have the edema of the genitalia. He might have the UTI or urinary tract infection. He can have fever. So not necessarily you should be infective endocarditis. Okay, so we have to look for, right? Anyway, what are the markers for infective endocarditis?
We've got splinter hemorrhages, ma'am. Janeway lesion.
Okay, you are starting from the hand now. Very good, excellent.
Okay. Janeway lesions, ma'am. Osler's nodes.
Yes.
And within the eyes on fundoscopy.
You haven't finished in the hand, now you jump to the eyes. Splinter hemorrhages, then you said about Janeway lesion. What else is there?
Osler's nodes.
Very good, excellent. Then you saw one thing, anemia.
Anemia.
Then what else? Yes, one more. Very important.
Clubbing.
Very good, excellent. Clubbing. Don't forget that. So apart from, the congenital cyanotic heart diseases, okay, any cyanotic heart diseases, the infective endocarditis is one of the cardiology condition. That is not one, it is the cardiology condition, cardiovascular problem, having the external manifestation of the clubbing. Okay, don't forget that. And again, describe the Osler's nodes. How will it be?
They'd be painful, ma'am, and they'd be
subsequently painful node in the pulp
of the digits.
Okay, pulp of the fingers. So that is very important. Then, yes, then, so anemia, and that's pallor, then clubbing, your Osler's nodes, splinter hemorrhages in the nail bed, Janeway lesion again. Then that's a painless erythematous lesion. Okay, then what else? Dark spots in the eyes.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Then
there could be other immunological phenomena, ma'am, like petechial rashes elsewhere on the body.
Right. Then in the abdomen, what else they can have? An examination, abdominal examination. In infective endocarditis. Splenomegaly. Okay. One of the cause for the splenomegaly is infective endocarditis. And then urine examination will show the microscopic hematuria. Okay, so these things you have to examine, but external manifestation, apart from these two, you have to tell. Okay, don't forget.
Yes, ma'am.
And same way, markers for the congenital heart disease also. Very, very important. Okay, so there are so many markers when you go through that, right? And similarly, other connective tissue diseases also could be there, which could cause the heart problem. Okay, so if they got the rheumatological problem, or in the way of musculoskeletal problem or other system problem also could be there. This this autoimmune diseases, the same. Okay, so you have the general examination, you should spend time to find out. Okay, yes, right. So markers, few markers for the country, especially for the Marfan syndrome. Look for the Marfan syndrome features, and then other skeletal abnormalities with the associated connective tissue disease, like the upper limb, actually skeletal defect, okay, absent radii. So some of the conditions are associated with the, okay, acquired, congenital heart diseases, cyanotic. Look for that. Okay, very, very important, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So don't forget that, right? Anyway, edema. You saw the edema, isn't it?
Yes,
so you said something slow filling edema.
Yes, ma'am.
So neither edema there.
Pedal edema, ma'am.
Pedal edema only. You described this as a slow filling. What is that?
That would mean it's an edema that is due to increased hydrostatic pressure, ma'am.
Very good. Any other edema?
There's the fast rising type, that's because of decreased oncotic pressure due to hyperproteinemia.
Okay, right. What are the other causes for the edema?
For the slow rising type, chronic kidney disease could also lead to uh, slow rising type due to
Okay,
fluid.
yes. Then,
Um,
1 second, ma'am.
yes, ma'am.
Done and water. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, ma'am. Yes. So anyway, what are the causes for the bilateral leg edema? Yes,
And
bilateral swelling of the leg.
for
Generally, yeah.
okay, for slow rising type, this it could be due to chronic cardiac congestive cardiac failure and chronic kidney disease. And slow rising type, it could be due to liver cirrhosis, again kidney disease, the nephrotic syndrome, and it could be due to malnutrition.
Okay. Hmm.
And
Okay. Hmm. What about the carpal tunnel? Cannot forget the carpal tunnel. Okay. Secondary to the lung disease also.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. So either, yeah, cardiac failure, primarily cardiac event, or it could be secondary to the respiratory event also. So you have to mention carpal tunnel, and then what you said, other things are the renal failure, chronic renal disease, chronic kidney disease, or renal failure. That's the end stage, not the early stages. End stage renal failure, nephrotic syndrome. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Then malnutrition causing the hypoproteinemia. Very good. Okay. Yes.
Then liver failure.
Liver failure. Yes. ஒரு நிமிஷம் இது எடுத்துக்கலாம். Right? Yeah, I think now I'm visible also now.
Visible.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yes. So what are the causes for the unilateral swelling of the legs?
Unilateral swelling of the legs, usually there's some localized pathology, ma'am. So
Yes.
it could be due to venous obstruction, maybe due to deep vein thrombosis or any past surgical procedures.
What
or
past surgical procedure?
Yes, ma'am, like due to
Don't confuse DVT. Just specific, be specific with the DVT, and then second,
due to tumor or even pregnancy could be leading to compression of veins.
why should it cause only one-sided swelling? So DVT, okay, you said that. Yes, then
it could be due to lymphatic blockage also. There's filariasis.
filariasis, very good. Yes, then.
Or any past surgeries also could cause
Why you keep on saying past surgery? So let you give the answer to the surgery people. Okay, we are medicine, right? What is the important thing?
Mixed edema.
Mixed edema. Mixed edema is what? Cause unilateral swelling. No, Bharat. Who's answering? Sorry.
Ma'am, sorry, ma'am.
Anup. Yeah. Sorry, Anup. It's not mixed edema. Mixed edema, again, it's a non-pitting and it will be bilateral, isn't it?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything? So one you said lymphatic obstruction, filariasis, venous obstruction. Okay, DVT. Then cellulitis. Okay, don't forget that. So the treatment is going to be antibiotics, right? What are the signs of the cellulitis?
There'd be redness, tenderness.
All your rubor, color, dollar, okay, swelling and loss of function, all those things will be there, isn't it? So don't forget that, and it will be usually associated with the regional lymph node involvement also. Okay, so look for all those things because you have to differentiate. So what is the difference between the venous obstruction and the arterial obstruction?
Ma'am,
Yes.
arterial obstruction, the limb would be pale and cold, and it would not be swollen.
First thing is
Yeah,
painful.
painful.
Okay, arterial obstruction, patient will be experiencing severe pain, and as you say, the patient will have the, it is not swollen. Okay, it will be pale and it is cold. Okay, on feeling, and then when you feel for it, the pulses will be absent. Okay, so in cardiovascular system, you have to look for that because thromboembolic phenomena are very common. Okay, so you have to feel the pulses, all the palpable peripheral pulses. It could be either the cause or it could be the sequelae of cardiovascular problem. Where do you get the cause for the cardiac problem? The unequal pulses. Tell me one condition.
Among the two legs, ma'am.
No, I'm not talking about palpable peripheral pulses, not equal. Anywhere. Some pulses are well felt, some pulses not present. He has some cardiac problem, some valvular heart disease. What is that?
Valvular heart disease.
Anybody?
Supravalvular aortic stenosis.
Pardon me? Supravalvular aortic
Supravalvular
Like
there
what?
it will be maybe diminished pulse. What we are talking is pulseless disease I'm talking about. What is that? Apart from all this arterial occlusion, local compression, what is that other disease? What is it? I already mentioned the name, pulseless disease. What is it?
Takayasu arthritis.
Exactly, Takayasu. Okay, so large vessel vasculitis. Okay, so which is the aorta arthritis, otherwise called. So Takayasu, where the patient can have valvular heart disease like. What is the valvular heart disease? Anup? Aortic regurgitation.
Okay.
Okay, aortic regurgitation is the common cardiac problem they have. Okay, so everything, whatever you do, there is something, some logic behind that, right? So unilateral swelling of the leg, bilateral swelling of the legs, you have to look for what are the causes. They are all just the signs. You have to look for the causes. Okay, right. Just one scenario, right? So a patient with a chronic liver disease. Okay, suddenly patient develop. Okay, distension of there is already distension of the legs there, but and that it suddenly develops ascites, tense ascites, tender ascites. What is the cause?
Can it be peritonitis?
He's not having temperature. I have not mentioned you. We are in the edema, isn't it? Causes of edema. In that connection only I am asking.
Hepatorenal syndrome, ma'am.
I have not mentioned any urinary abnormality. I have not given other things, isn't it?
Ma'am, can it be Budd-Chiari syndrome?
Arushi, yes?
Can it be Budd-Chiari syndrome?
Budd-Chiari syndrome is another disease, isn't it? So that is the cause for the. I am talking about sequelae, isn't it? I am not talking about the cause. Something happened, so you have to worry about it, right? So this patient would have developed IVC thrombosis. Okay, so the DVT not happening only with one vein, only with the unilateral problem. It can happen up also. Okay, so even the patient has got IVC thrombosis, he can have both ascites as well as the edema of the legs, worse edema, which will be painful also. That is going to imply patient is going in for hepatocellular carcinoma, already underlying chronic liver disease. If the patient develops this IVC thrombosis, you have to suspect hepatocellular carcinoma. Small things. Okay, so bilateral leg edema means you have to think of not only all this cardiac failure and these things, also the IVC, or whether patient having the common iliac vein, something above the iliac vein, bilateral distribution, patient should be having problem. Okay, good. Right, yes. Then you said one more thing, pulse. What is the pulse pressure in this patient?
Patient has 100 beats, 102 beats per minute. And that's the pulse rate.
Pulse pressure, pulse pressure.
Pulse pressure. Okay, that is only 30 millimeters of mercury, ma'am.
30, isn't it? So it
Yes,
is low or normal?
It's normal, ma'am. 30 to 60 is the normal range. It's lower into the normal.
So it is a low range,
Yes, ma'am.
isn't it? You cannot say it is normal. There is a low range. And again, this patient has got the, so much he is distended with the fluid retention is there. Okay, everything, the intravascular compartment should be dry. Not that much, should be less.
No.
Okay, so you have to carefully, these are the things, it all look, you're being given the points, you have to analyze and present. So this patient must be having, low cardiac output. Am I right or wrong? So he must be having the heart failure with a low ejection fraction. Okay, this is not the reduced ejection fraction. That's what it says. So you have to look for whether in spite of that, you always expect the patient should be cold. The periphery should be cold. But here they given the temperature. So you have to look for the markers for any infections, infective endocarditis, all these things you have to look for. It's very, very important. Right? Right. So you said JVP, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
So we go one by one. Anyway, once we started with the pulse, you said pulse rate, how much?
102 beats per minute, ma'am. 102.
So it has got tachycardia, isn't
Yes,
it? So it correlates with the,
heart failure, low cardiac output.
yeah, one with the low cardiac output as well as with the temperature.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So what is relative bradycardia? Where do you get that?
Ma'am, in some infections, there isn't much rise in the pulse rate, even with increase in temperature. We get it in typhoid, brucellosis.
Okay. So you had apart from typhoid, you got one more disease. So you said some infection. Huh? Well done. Excellent. Okay. Right. Then, so where do you feel for the pulse? Which pulse you look for? The rate, which pulse you look for the rhythm, which pulse you look for the character?
Ma'am, for rate and rhythm, we look for the radial pulses, and character and volume, we look for the carotid pulses.
Very good. Okay. Give me the all different types of pulse,
We've got pulses alternance.
Where do you get pulses alternance?
Possibly, ma'am, in cardiac failure.
Yes. So you get the strong pulse and then the weak pulse.
And then
Strong pulse, weak pulse. So it's alternating between the strong and weak. Okay.
Yes.
So that is going to be pulses alternance. Very good. Yes. What is pulses bigeminy? Since it's because we said strong and then weak. Is the same with the pulses bigeminy?
Pulses bigeminy is there's a peak in systole and there's a peak in diastole also.
No. Pulses bigeminy. You are talking about pulses bispherians. Bispherians pulse is different from bigeminy. Bigeminy are bigeminy, trigeminy, quadrigeminy, or geminis are ectopics.
Double peak within
I
systole.
simply asked you. Okay, they are all ectopics, right? Okay, so actually, when you start exercising, these the ectopics will disappear, or extrasystoles will disappear. That's one thing. How do you differentiate from the irregular pulse due to atrial fibrillation? Okay, so between the extrasystole and atrial fibrillation is one of the differences when you ask them, but it is very you have to do carefully also, because already patient is having atrial fibrillation with the uncontrolled conduction. Okay, it's going to be very, very risky, but I'm just saying that. Okay, so with the exercise this disappear, whereas with the
AFib doesn't disappear.
atrial fibrillation worsens with the
Worsens.
exercise. This is very, very important thing. Yes. So what did you say? What you said is the pulses bispherians.
Pulses dysphoria.
Okay. So two upstrokes happening in the systole.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Right. So pulses alternans, pulses bispherians. Where does it happen?
Bispherians happens with
Atrial aortic stenosis with the aortic regurgitation.
regurgitation. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So again, you have to feel it. Okay. So the components of any pulse is anacrotic and dicrotic. Okay. One in the systole and one in the diastole you will be having. But when the two peaks happening, it is due to the two conditions. Okay, coexistent. Again, aortic stenosis is the dominant one. Okay, right. Though in pure aortic stenosis, severe aortic stenosis, there will be slow rising pulse.
Pulse
Okay,
is
which is called
retardus.
slow rising pulse is called only anacrotic pulse.
Necrotic pulse.
Severe aortic stenosis when there is a late peaking because there is an obstruction to the flow. So the gradient is the flow is slowly only trickling in and reaches the maximum only late. That's why it is self-explanatory. Parvus et tardus. Okay, late peaking. Okay, so anacrotic pulse, which is otherwise slow rising pulse, and the pulses parvus et tardus, all contribute towards the aortic stenosis, and according to the severity you can see. But whereas bisvariance is both the lesions. And if it is aortic regurgitation,
there'd be a collapsing pulse, water hammer pulse.
yes, any other pulse for the name. What is Corrigan's pulse?
Corrigan's pulse. Yes, ma'am.
Water hammer pulse, Corrigan pulse. What is it? Water hammer. What is that?
It's that contraction that
Okay.
picks. Huh?
No, I'm not saying. There is somebody at the door. Yes. What is water hammer?
It's that contraction that
Toy.
cause water.
It's a toy actually.
Toy,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a toy. Okay. So what is it due to? What
It's
is this
because of
collapsing pulse due to?
it's because there's a huge pulse pressure due to aortic regurgitation. This stroke volume. Stroke volume is much more increased,
Yes.
and because of regurgitation, the diastolic pressure is decreased because of aortic runoff.
So the rapid early runoff.
Early runoff.
Okay. Early runoff. Rapid early runoff. The patient can have rapid upstroke and rapid downstroke. So that's collapsing. Okay. Very severe actually. So, but actually it is very troublesome to the patient as well. Okay. Right. Any other pulses? What is dicrotic pulse?
That's
Yes.
one peak
What
in
is
the
that?
systole and one in the diastole also.
Very good. Yes. Yes. In cardiac failure again it can happen, and even the enteric fever they say it can happen. Okay. Okay. Just to know that that's the okay. Other types of pulses are also there. Okay. That's all. Yes. Yes. Very good. Right.
Yes.
So for JVP in the blood pressure we are talking about. Yes. Okay. So tell me some causes for the low pulse pressure and some causes for the large pulse pressure. So the difference between systole and diastole is the pulse pressure.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, agreed, isn't it? So what are the causes for the low pulse pressure? What are the causes for the large pulse pressure?
Low pulse pressure could happen due to cardiac failures, one, ma'am.
Very good. So cardiogenic shock.
Cardiogenic
Okay.
shock.
So even in aortic regurgitation, patient can go for the failure. Okay. So you cannot say cardiac failure. Simple. It's a broad terminology. So it's a cardiogenic shock. Okay. So you should be very careful in relating that. Right. Yes.
Then aortic stenosis could lead to that hypertension.
Obstructive lesions. All obstructive lesions, patient can have the low cardiac output. Very good. Yes. Then either it could be, yes, aortic stenosis or severe mitral stenosis also patient can have that. Yes. Large volume.
Large volume due to again mainly aortic regurgitation, ma'am. And
So that is a volume overload, isn't it?
Volume
The low output are the pressure overload. See, when you understand the pathology and physiology, you can answer better. Okay, so when there is a pressure overload, patient is going to obstructive lesion, patient is going to have the low cardiac output, right? And whereas in this case, is actually that's a common thing. And the patient has got the volume overload, patient is going to have the regurgitated lesion, they have the large the volume output. So aortic regurgitation, mitral regurgitation is moderate. It's not like a thing. Then any other cause?
other states of volume overload, ma'am, like kidney disease and liver disease.
No. We are in the heart. You don't
Heart.
go for this. This is not general. Yes.
Ma'am, anemia.
Anemia. Okay, very good. All the
Thyroid.
anemia, very cirrhosis, all this, for your high output failure, you can say pregnancy, those things. That is different. Okay. Anything else? Cardiac. Cardiac.
Cardiac.
Cardiac.
VSD, ma'am. Ventricular septal defect.
Pardon? Finish?
Ventricular septal defect, ma'am.
Ventricular septal defect. Yes, very good. Yes, then. Anything else? Ventricular again, it will be decompressing into the right ventricle. No. Yeah, you can have that, not that much. One more. I want more than that. What else? Same way. This is, you said intracardiac connection. Shunt. Extracardiac shunt. What is it? Outside the ventricle. What is that shunt?
Patent ductus arteriosus.
Very good. Patent ductus PDA. It's a large volume, isn't it? Okay. So regurgitation, PDA, and as I said, VSD, and also you can mitral regurgitation. Not, you can say that one, but usually it's not like a aortic regurgitation. Yes, and then all the other causes for the high output failure. Other all you name it. Okay, from A to Z, some at least 6 to 7 causes if you have to pick up. Okay. Okay, just one small question. Okay, since I said high output failure, apart from anemia, beriberi, any bony lesion, skeletal problem which is associated with the high output failure?
Paget's disease, ma'am.
Oh, very good, excellent. What are the other neurological problem they can have? Who's that answering?
Arushi.
Arushi.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Arushi, tell me, what else they can have apart from the heart failure? Paget's disease, osteitis deformans. What else? They can have hard of hearing.
Oh.
Okay, bony engorgement. The other thing associated is the hard of hearing they can have. Okay, excellent, very good. Okay, ma, go ahead.
Then J.
So what is JVP? You show me the recording.
Oh, the JVP, ma'am. Okay. It's visible, ma'am.
Yeah. So everyone can see that. So what is that one on the lateral side of the neck, the distended vein? Is that your JVP?
It's actually the external jugular vein, ma'am.
Very good. So it's the external jugular vein. What we are looking for in JVP is, so it's the, again, you know, you run the picture.
Yes, ma'am.
Run the video. So he has a short neck, we could not see much, but you have to see between the two heads of the sternocleidomastoid. Okay, one is in the sternal head, other is the clavicular head. In between, okay, see the arrow. So there actually, yeah. So between the two things, actually, you look for it whether there is. But if you look carefully, you can see the pulsations. It's elevated, but you have to differentiate it from the. That pulsation should be differentiated from
Carotid pulse.
Pulsation, carotid. Okay, how will you differentiate?
Ma'am, carotid pulses are better felt and less.
One thing is sight. Here we are talking about the two heads, between the two heads, whereas carotid is medial to the sternocleidomastoid. Okay, one is the sight. Second thing is, as you said, it is the.
Its carotid pulse is more easily palpable, while the jugular venous pulses are more easily seen.
Yes, very good.
Then carotid pulses cannot be obliterated by pressure, ma'am. While
yes.
JVP can be obliterated by putting pressure just above the clavicle.
Root of the neck. Yes, then. Yes, then.
Then this is a
Ma'am, JVP falls with inspiration, ma'am.
Yes, with the respiration. So variation with the respiration is very, very important. Okay. So in what way it is important? Tell me some examples.
Anup.
Ma'am, in right heart failure, the JVP may increase, ma'am. Right.
So usually with the inspiration, it should collapse.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Basically, it should drain into the SVC and then to the right atrium. Instead of because of the right heart pressure is elevated, this is not. It's going to be
Drain.
okay. Yeah, and any other condition. What happens with the constrictive pericarditis?
It won't fall with inspiration.
Yeah, it
What is
increases
it called?
Kussmaul sign.
Yeah, very good, excellent. Okay, Kussmaul sign. In spite of the collapsing, actually you see the reverse. Okay, it's the engagement. Excellent. Okay, and again, SVC obstruction also. Okay, SVC obstruction, patient can have the, okay, but there again it will be pulseless. Only you see the engagement, it won't have the waves.
Okay, ma'am.
So the waves are seen, what are the waves are due to? It's a right atrium contraction, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
What is happening in the systole and diastole of the right atrium? But SVC is well above, isn't it? So that is not going to show the wave. So it is the pulseless, okay, just the elevation of the engagement of the veins alone happens with the SVC. You understand what I mean?
Yes.
So
Okay.
the JVP is just the showing the what is happening in the right atrium during the systole and diastole. Is it clear? So the right atrium is contracting in systole means is showing as a waves.
Yes.
Okay, and again the right atrium actually is getting filled up. The pressure is getting more and more. It's going to show in the V waves. Okay, all A wave and C wave, B wave, and all three are positive waves.
Yes, ma'am.
Whereas in the X and Y is going to be draining of the right atrium into the ventricle. Okay, so when that draining into the right ventricle is compromised or prevented, like external pressure like constrictive pericarditis, okay, or cardiac tamponade, okay, this X and Y is going to get big, enlarged. You can see it. You get the point? Or if the patient has got some restrictive cardiomyopathy.
AFib also. Atrial fibrillation also.
Wait, that's different. Okay, so positive waves and negative waves. So positive waves, it's more of systole. Okay, for atrial contraction is thing. Atria is getting big, large, distended with all the filling from either your IVC and SVC is going to say the patient has got the V wave is big. And V wave, the atrial filling not only happen with your venous return, but if the patient has got tricuspid regurgitation, okay, what will happen now? Where the blood will come from?
From the ventricle, it will come.
Yeah,
from
right
the
ventricle also.
Right.
So you are going to get the large V waves. So tricuspid regurgitation, you have the large V waves, and A waves are due to the atrial contraction. Okay, so in atrial fibrillation, what will happen?
There's uncoordinated contraction of the atrial muscle fibers, ma'am.
So
As a result, there's no flow of blood. There's no emptying into the ventricle, and it does not even reflect back into the veins.
yeah, atrial activity is not picked up properly.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the A waves are absent in cases of the atrial fibrillation. We should be very, very, very careful. Yes. See, if patients still have the pulmonary hypertension, the right atrial pressure is elevated. Okay, so pulmonary hypertension is one of the cause for the raised JVP. Okay, like the other cause, like as we said, tricuspid stenosis, tricuspid regurgitation also can cause the increase. That's a right heart failure. Okay, so if we are saying the patient has got right heart failure, but JVP is not elevated, what are the other ways you can say the patient is having the, how do you elicit the JVP is elicited?
We could perform the abdominojugular reflex.
Yes. Okay, do the abdominojugular reflex. How long you will give the pressure? Where do you give the pressure?
We'll be giving the pressure at the right upper abdomen over the liver. We'll be pressing down, ma'am.
How long?
15 seconds.
Pardon, Anup?
15 seconds.
I can't hear you. 30
15
seconds or 1 minute?
Oh. 15 seconds.
15 seconds. You can go up to 30 seconds.
Okay. ma'am.
Okay? 30
Okay.
seconds. You can give pressure over the 30 seconds. You can see for it. Okay? There is an elevation and the. Yes, excellent. So, A waves are due to the causes of A waves. Prominent A waves.
Prominent A waves could be due to
Pulmonary hypertension. All the thing we are talking about right atrium, isn't it? Pulmonary hypertension,
supraventricular tachycardia.
tricuspid stenosis. Okay. Anything else? Then
The supraventricular tachycardia.
again, pulmonary hypertension due to other causes, like pulmonary hypertension as such, it can happen, idiopathic, or usually the secondary to cardiac causes like mitral stenosis, mitral regurgitation, all these things should be there. Okay, you get the point? So pulmonary hypertension secondary to cardiac cause, and pulmonary hypertension secondary to the lung lesion, like as we said, the carpulmonale. Okay, and the pulmonary hypertension secondary to venous thromboembolism in the pulmonary circulation also. If you go in depth, you can find out. So broadly, I'm telling pulmonary hypertension. Okay, then tricuspid stenosis.
Right.
Tricuspid. Then what are the other causes for the A waves? Anu, prominent A waves.
Right atrial myxoma.
Yes, right atrial myxoma. Right atrial myxoma level persa varuma.
Ma'am, in arrhythmias.
What is Epstein's anomaly? What will he get? Sorry, okay, you find out. Okay, so I'm just giving an idea. Where do you get the prominent A waves? You tell me all the causes. Okay, right. You write down and show me later. Then what is the Cannon wave?
That happens when the right atrium contracts against the closed tricuspid valve.
Okay, where does it happen?
It can happen in complete heart block, ma'am, when the atrial contractions.
Very good. Yes, then, okay. Right, V waves.
V
waves.
V waves. Tricuspid regurgitation.
Tricuspid regurgitation. Okay, here only the Epstein's anomaly will come. Don't worry. Okay, so Himalayan is a large, what's happening is the ventricle septum is very low. So one big large atrium will take congenital cyanotic heart disease where you can get, right? Yes, no worries. So common things are common. You know about what are the conditions which can cause the prominent A wave? What condition? At least you should know 5 causes. Then what condition causes the prominent B wave? Where you get the X, Y dominance? Okay. So usually it is the restrictive lesion as well as the constrictive pericarditis. So Aneshwara, you are not seeing. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Good. Yes. Is it clear? Yes. All right. So this patient is anemic. He's got the pedal edema, his JVP is elevated. So basically what he has got now? That's all?
Signs of right heart failure.
That's all. Okay. So this is not much. So this patient has got the right heart failure. Now we have to find out what are the causes. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. Then you are going for the inspection. And one more thing, always I say that in the neck, not only JVP, you have to concentrate on thyroid.
Oh,
why? Oh, yes. Why?
It could be because hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism also have cardiac manifestations.
Yes.
Tachycardia.
So hypothyroidism can cause?
Non-pitting edema, tachycardia, palpitations.
Non-pitting edema. It is hyperthyroidism. Because pre-tibial mixed edema, you got confused. No. Okay. So only in hypothyroidism or mixed edema you have non-pitting edema. This is one of the features. Pre-tibial mixed edema is the feature of the Graves' disease. That's all. Okay. This is a hyperthyroidism. Okay. So Graves' disease is one of the cause for the hyperthyroidism. Am I right or wrong? There are other causes are there. Okay. So that's not going to cause a swelling. Should be very clear. So arrhythmias in the form of the atrial fibrillation, hypertension, cardiomyopathy. These are the some causes for the, okay, so hyperthyroidism. Hypo, what are the cardiac manifestation of hypo?
Low heart rate, bradycardia.
Bradycardia, yeah, no issues. Bradycardia, sinus bradycardia is then
Pericardial effusion, ma'am.
Excellent. Pericardial effusion, yes. Then one more. There are so many, but I'm just talking about bits and pieces of the common things. It can cause, it's a cause for the hypercholesterolemia. Okay, secondary hypercholesterolemia, isn't it? So the patient is prone to
Atherosclerotic heart disease, coronary artery disease.
yeah, coronary artery disease, isn't it? So either the hypo or hyper, the thyroid disorders are the very important with playing in the cardiovascular system, right? Excellent. Okay, right. So don't forget thyroid, right? Inspection.
Inspection, ma'am.
So you're talking about vectors, excavatum, all those things. So how does it matter in any chest wall deformities?
It could displace the apex beat, ma'am, and so we cannot
Yeah.
say it's because of the cardiac abnormalities.
That's all. Okay, right. Excellent. Yes. What is still murmur? Still's murmur?
Still,
Anybody? Still's murmur? Is a functional murmur or it's organic murmur? What is functional murmur or what is organic murmur?
organic murmur is due to some stenosis or regurgitant lesions, ma'am.
Structural lesion.
Any actual
Okay. Basically, it's a structural abnormality causing the yes.
murmur.
Functional is
Function is due to disturbances in blood flow, that is not
Yes.
due to any structural lesion.
okay. Good. Very good. Yes. What is still murmur? Okay. Find out. Find out and tell me, Aneshwara, later. Yes. Then.
Then
Okay.
chest wall.
Yes.
Chest wall appears to be symmetric.
So this patient has got where is the apical impulse now?
Left fifth intercostal space lateral to the midclavicular line.
So it shows the patient has got the
Some right
pressure overload.
Yes.
The patient has got cardiomegaly, and it is
Right
patient has got cardiomegaly. Yes. Okay. Maybe pressure. Yes. Cardiomegaly is there. We can't say it's a pressure also. It's the yes. Cardiomegaly is there, which didn't cause the down and out. It is only the outward.
Only outward.
Okay. Very good. Yes.
Then that's the only significant finding, ma'am. There were no distended there were no distended veins over the precordiums, pulsations, scars, sinuses. Nothing.
So tell me some example causes for the distended vein, some causes for the aortic pulsations. What pulsations you look for where?
There could be suprasternal pulsations, epigastric pulsations.
Due to what? Suprasternal due to what? Epigastric due to what? Epigastric due to usually aortic or the right ventricle. Okay. So either a right ventricular enlargement or the aortic aneurysm can cause. So whether it is the expansive or whether it is the okay. So right ventricle. Yes. So you have to look for. Whereas in suprasternal and all again aneurysm only, enlargement of the aorta which can cause. So yes, distended veins. Okay, so
SVC obstruction.
we already said obstruction, SVC obstruction, you should look for, forget it. So you look for the pulsation only precardium. You know what is precardium? What is precardium first of all?
It's the region of the chest wall in front of the anterior to the heart.
Okay, so you look only you examine the precardium only. You don't look at the back. What do you look for in the back? Any pulsations over the shoulder? Any pulsation over the scapula? What does that signify? Anup, Arishi. So nobody opened the mouth. Only Anup and Arishi. Yes.
Coaptation of aorta.
Very good. Excellent. Coaptation of aorta. Yes. Dinesh is answering. Yes. So, yes, Dinesh. What is it called? Okay, no worries. You remember and tell me later. Yes, even I too forgot now. Yes. Yes. Collaterals is the, it's a collaterals. What collaterals you have to tell me? Yes. Then, very good. Okay, ma, carry on.
Uh, moving on to palpation, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, and trachea was confirmed to be in the midline. Apex beat was palpable in the left fifth intercostal space, lateral to midclavicular line, and had a tapping character.
Okay, so what are the conditions where you don't see or feel apical impulse on the place where you have to? That means you are not feeling the apical impulse on the left. What are the causes?
It could be due to right ventricular hypertrophy, or it could be due to cardiac causes, ma'am, or it could even be due to lung diseases, mediastinal shifting.
You give me the answer. I'm not asking the mechanism. You give me conditions. That's all.
Dextrocardia.
It's not felt or seen. What are the causes?
It can be
Dextrocardia.
physiological,
So
ma'am.
dextrocardia, you kept on selling the mediastinal shift and that. So I was looking for that. Okay. So always when you feel for the apical impulse, both the sides should be felt at time. Okay. Either you miss this, you can find out. Right, on the other side. So first thing is dextrocardia, then other causes.
Ma'am, it can be behind the ribs or
Yes, behind the ribs. Yes.
too obese patient,
Yes, obese patients. Excellent. Yes.
Empysematous lung.
and in females.
Dinesh,
In
continue.
females.
Okay, females. Yes. Very good. Then even in pericardial effusion, pleural effusion, massive pleural effusion, going to be difficult, isn't
Okay.
it? So you have to, what are the positions you look for the apical impulse? If you can't find the apical impulse, as such patient is sitting, what are the other maneuvers you do to make it, obvious? You try.
Make the patient lie down on left lateral decubitus.
Yes, you have to look at the patient the left lateral so that the heart comes forward. You have to look for it. Okay. Yes. Okay. Good. Then.
Then P2 was palpable. Then left parasternal heave was present.
Is there any right parasternal heave? Okay. Anyway. Right. Okay. Probably with the dextrocardia it can happen. Yes. Right. So the patient is having a parasternal heave, outward enlargement. Outward enlargement of the apical impulse, and then P2 is palpable. Yes.
Then no thrills were felt over the precordium.
Yes.
Auscultation.
What thrill it can be possible? What thrill you expect to be palpable in this patient with these findings commonly? Anup, Dinesh, Arushi.
Ma'am, what was the question, ma'am?
The thrill. She said no thrill felt. I was asking what thrill I expect in this patient with all these findings.
Due to
diastolic thrill, ma'am.
Pardon?
Diastolic thrill.
Yeah. Basically, it's a diastolic thrill. Common thing, isn't it? So what else do you expect? Where do you want to feel the diastolic thrill?
Oh, the precordium.
Precordium is a large area, ma.
Okay, mitral area, ma'am.
Yeah, you should be specific. Mitral area. Indirectly, you are looking for patient whether has mitral stenosis. Okay, so you look for the diastolic thrill. If it is a thrill felt, then the murmur could be, you can grade the murmur. The murmur could be
4.
More than 4. So if you get a murmur now, it will be less than 3. 3 or less than 3. You get the point? So that's all. The thrill indicates the patient has got it. What is the thrill, by the way? What is it due to?
It's a palpable murmur. It's due to vibrations of the myocardium.
Vibration of the myocardium. ஏம்மா நல்லா தானே போயிட்டு இருக்கு. Vibration of the myocardium. இதெல்லாம் எப்படிமா வரும்? Yes. Anup, Dinesh. So it is the flow, blood flow, isn't it? Either it is the flow, turbulence flow in the normal valve, or it is the flow in the reduced abnormal valve. That only cause, isn't it? So it is not the vibration and all. Okay, you cannot pick up that. Probably with the other technology we can do that, not with our ears, right? So it's the flow. We are picking up the flow, right? Yes. Okay. So what are the causes for the loud P2?
Pulmonary hypertension.
Pulmonary hypertension.
Yes. Then any other cause? RBB, right bundle branch block. Okay. Yes. Okay. Pulmonary hypertension itself has got many causes, as we already said, discussed. Yes. Then go ahead. Yes.
Then auscultation, ma'am.
So this convenience we are doing, but actually you should start presenting with the mitral area, tricuspid area, aortic area, the pulmonary area, aortic area, and the left parasternal area, where necessary even the right parasternal area. Where is the important right-sided parasternal area? Which condition? Forget about dextrocardia normally. Any other valvular heart disease will be prominent on the right parasternal area?
Aortic.
Very good. Aortic stenosis. அந்த பக்கம் என்ன ஸ்ட்ரக்சர்மா இருக்கு? Right pericardium, right parasternal area. Just visualize in the X-ray, or it just visualize. What is the structure there? Anup.
I'm ascending aorta.
Ascending aorta. So now tell me, what will be the thing you are looking for?
The aortic regurgitation, ma'am.
Yes, usually secondary to syphilis.
Okay, ma'am.
So usually, okay. So that a tambour-like quality, it's a musical regurgitation murmur you look for. Okay, tambura. So tambour is tambura. That's all. So it's a musical quality, right? In syphilis, where under conditions also maybe. So ascending aorta involvement. Okay, even with the what's that condition? So aortic regurgitation happened with the cystic something will be in relation.
Dilation.
Enema?
Marfan's, ma'am. Marfan's.
Marfan's correct. What is the pathology? I'm just looking for one more.
Aortic root dilation.
Cystic medial degeneration.
Cystic medial degeneration. Is it something like that? Is it?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I
Medial
think so.
degeneration.
So that's very common with ascending aorta thing. So where you can have. Okay, good. Okay, ma, excellent. Then yes. So see all the areas, okay, and if you miss one area just looking for finding, you will miss the other findings also, right? That is very important. Yes. Auscultation. So usually percussion, normally itself you won't see, but percussion basically for two conditions only: enlargement of the heart, okay, whether it is mapping of the cardiac area. That is very important for the, if that's something we are picking up with the percussion. So one is the this thing with the cardiomegaly, and the second thing with the even pulmonary area. Okay, when it is a dull note, it's going to say pulmonary artery dilatation. Okay, so those are the two things we pick up usually with the percussion. So pulmonary artery dilatation by the dull note in the pulmonary area, and the second thing is mapping. Okay, so whether it's the right sternal border, left sternal border, we are mapping it. Right. So tell me the two conditions by which by percussion we pick up the cardiomegaly, and how we differentiate. What are the two conditions? Usually.
Causing cardiomegaly, ma'am.
By percussion we pick up.
Dilated cardiomyopathy.
Dilated cardiomegaly, and then dilated cardiomyopathy and
even dextrocardia we can detect, ma'am. Right side left, the percus.
Pericardial effusion.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so dilated cardiomyopathy and pericardial effusion. So how does the pericardial effusion look in X-ray? It's like a money bag. Okay, so the heart is so big, the aorta will be, the structures will be above. So it's like a money bag. Okay, so that's a very characteristic of the pericardial effusion, and of course, we'll be seeing other signs for it. If the massive pericardial effusion, patient will have features of the cardiac tamponade. So what is cardiac tamponade? Yes. What is a Beck triad? Beck's
Hypotension raised to JVP.
Yes. Hypotension. No?
Raised JVP.
Very good. Excellent. Then
Muffled heart sounds.
muffled heart sound. Excellent. Okay, these are the three things characteristic of the pericardiac cardiac tamponade. Okay, where you need the pericardiocentesis urgently. Okay, so you have to relieve that, otherwise the patient will be in problem. Okay, good. Right, auscultation.
Moving on to auscultation, the mitral area, S1 and S2 were heard, and S1 is soft here. And
S1 is soft up. You
yes,
said tapping in nature, now you are saying S1 is soft. என்ன findings என்ன கொடுத்திருக்காங்கம்மா?
okay.
S1 is soft னா சொல்லிருக்காரு. If this S1 is soft, what are the causes then?
It could be
Calcification of the mitral valve.
Pardon?
Calcification of the mitral valve, ma'am.
Very good. Whether the patient has got calcification or whether patient developed one more associated lesion, like
regurgitation.
mitral regurgitation. Excellent. Okay. So if the S1 is soft, usually with the mitral stenosis, we expect patient having the
Regurgitation also.
tapping in nature. The apical impulse, the first sound should be loud.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So here these features all suggestive of mitral stenosis, isn't it? Your murmur is there, and all the things we are pointing towards the pulmonary hypertension. Pulmonary hypertension very common. First thing with the mitral stenosis here. Alright. So when the S1 is soft, you look for the what are the causes. Usually the S1 is loud, or it could be variably loud. Where do you get the variable loudness?
Atrial fibrillation.
Atrial fibrillation. Excellent. Okay. So both of you good. So here it is soft means it has become calcified. It's a chronic. Or whether the patient has got the associated lesion, you have to look for, like a regurgitation lesion. We should look. Why there is anyway? Why S1 is loud in mitral stenosis?
Because the mitral valve is open for a prolonged time because there's only very little blood. Because the ventricular pressure does not rise quickly enough. So
Yes.
at the end of diastole, then it closes very quickly. That's why it's a loud sound.
So the mechanism is right. You have to pick up the terminology, go and read properly. Okay. So, okay, whether it is a sudden buckling of the valve, all those things are there. Okay, read that. Okay, it's a rapid closure, distance it travels, all those things matters. Okay, but terminology is little more different. You understood right thing, right? So this is the reason for the sudden slamming of the mitral valve, closure of the mitral valve at the onset of the. Okay, so that is very important, which causes, right? And then, so again, you say when you say about the sounds, all these four sounds, S1, S2, S3, S4, wherever it is applicable, S3 and all very common with the regurgitant lesion. Okay, mitral regurgitation is associated, or tricuspid regurgitation associated, you'll have the prominent S3. Okay, it's a rapid filling sound, right? Whereas S4, it is very common with the hypertensive patient. Okay, S4 is otherwise it is relating the atrial contraction. Okay, so which is boosting up the ventricular filling. So S4 usually prominent either in the routine patients with the hypertension, I mean severe hypertension, systemic hypertension, or second thing with the hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, you can get S4. Or if the patient is having shock, okay, and the S3, S4 cadence will be there, cadence sounds or gallop rhythm, that could be there. So you should know where these could be picked up. And apart from that, conveniently, you should not forget opening snap, pre-systolic accentuation. Okay, even if it is not given, you should make an attempt. Okay, so already she said the S1 is soft, we said. So will the opening snap will be present there?
No, ma'am.
No. So it says that. See, if you would have said that, see, you are confirming this patient has got a calcification. So opening snap or present means it's a pliability of the valve.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so these are the things you should pick up. Even these cases are given virtual. See, it shows your, some more knowledge of the, okay, for the condition. You understand? So some things only will be given. You should go analyze and tell us. So there is no opening snap and the patient's first heart sound is soft means it says it's a calcification. Or whether the patient has got any associated regurgitation. You understand now?
Yes, ma'am.
So you should know the causes for the opening, mechanism of opening snap, mechanism of the first heart sound. Why the first heart sound is, why it is loud and the soft. Okay, the causes for that, and then other things. Excellent. Then what are the other conditions where the first heart sound will be loud? So it cannot be only mitral stenosis, isn't it? Where do you get loudness? First sound loud.
Tricuspid stenosis.
Pardon?
Tricuspid stenosis.
Okay, அதெல்லாம் எவ்வளவு கண்டிஷன் பார்க்கணும் ரொம்ப ரேர் இல்லம்மா tricuspid stenosis தான் common things ma. That's why I asked this question. I know.
High output
Atrial
state,
septal
ma'am.
defect.
Pardon?
Atrial septal defect.
Atrial septal defect. Atrial septal defect like you have pulmonary hypertension features and they present commonly with the atrial fibrillation. Common things common. எத்தனை ASD பார்க்க போறோம் நம்ம? Common condition. Tachycardia.
Tachycardia. Sinus tachycardia.
Whatever causes sinus tachycardia, it's a short PR interval, which causes a loudness. Okay, so look for the causes for the, tachycardia, you have first heart sound is normal things you should do. Okay, then you physiological causes and then the pathological causes. Valvular heart disease is different. Right? Yes. Then, okay, carry on.
Then the murmur itself, rough rumbling, mid
So, yeah, you define the murmur clearly, whatever is given. Yes.
rough rumbling, grade to mid diastolic murmur, heard
Low
in
pitch,
low pitched,
rough rumbling, mid diastolic murmur, heard in the mitral area.
with the bell of the stethoscope.
3. Okay, because there is no thrill you said. So of grade 3, heard in the left lateral position with the breath held in expiration.
Expiration.
Okay, with any pre-systolic accentuation or no pre-systolic
With
accentuation?
pre-systolic
With
accentuation.
pre-systolic. Where it will be absent pre-systolic accentuation?
Atrial fibrillation.
Atrial fibrillation. What are the findings disappear in the atrial fibrillation?
Opening snap, the loud is
You should start with the JVP. Again, don't go with the auscultation. There are so many things, isn't it? You got irregular pulse. You can start
Irregular.
with the pulse. And then what is the pulse deficit?
it should be more than 10.
More than 10. Then you look for the JVP. Where it will be
Absent A waves.
absent A waves. Then you come for the, okay, loudness of the sound. What is the loudness of the sound?
Variable
Variable loudness of the sound. And then you have the pre-systolic accentuation absent. So you now got some 5 points. You get it? So this is how it should go. Just simply saying 2 things. At the end, you will forget that 2 also. Okay? Excellent. Yes?
Then the tricuspid, pulmonary area. S1 and S2 were heard and P2 was loud.
Yes? Any murmur?
No murmurs were heard elsewhere.
Say, again, you should say that. Okay? They'll give you only this thing. You are looking for the murmur. What murmur you look for?
Any
Graham steel murmur.
Pardon, no?
Graham steel murmur.
So before you get the ejection systolic murmur, you have the Graham-Still murmur. Anyway, excellent. So Graham-Still murmur is severe. Severe pulmonary hypertension, you have the regurgitant murmur. So initially you look for some systolic murmur, ejection systolic, it's a flow murmur. Okay, so flow murmur, because of the pulmonary artery, you have the increased flow, isn't it? So patient can have the systolic murmur could be there, that you can pick up. And if they develop the early diastolic murmur, it says the patient has got evidence of pulmonary regurgitation, which is the Graham-Still murmur. Okay, good. Then
tricuspid area and aortic area, both S1, S2 were heard and no added.
mitral area, tricuspid area, then you go for the pulmonary area, aortic area, then the thing. Don't jump. Okay, always. Yes. Anyway, aortic area.
S1 and S2 were heard, no added sound.
Very good. Yes. No added sounds, no murmur.
No.
Yes.
And moving on to the other system examination. Respiratory system.
Okay, just one small question. What is the parasternal heave is due to?
Left parasternal heave. Due to right ventricular hypertrophy, ma'am.
Pardon?
Right ventricular hypertrophy.
Yeah. Usually it is right ventricular hypertrophy. Sometimes even the left atrial enlargement. Okay, sometimes it can cause. And okay, yeah, okay, no worries. Right, okay, yes, it's solving the history. Okay, other system examination.
Other system examination, ma'am. Respiratory system. Bilateral basal crackles were heard. Sign of pulmonary edema.
Okay,
Then,
fluid retention is there.
Per abdomen examination was soft. There was no abdominal tenderness, no organomegaly also.
This is the, where is the umbilicus?
Oh,
So does it look distended or not, the abdomen?
It actually looks distended.
So you have to look for, isn't it? Okay, yes, right. So maybe you look for the free fluid in the patient. Okay, ma'am. Right. So now tell me the diagnosis quickly.
Diagnosis. So this is a case of acquired valvular heart disease, probably of degenerative calcific etiology, affecting the mitral valve, most likely mitral stenosis. The patient is not in atrial fibrillation and has signs of right heart failure and pulmonary hypertension with no signs.
So this is the patient, acquired valvular heart disease, with the involvement of the mitral stenosis.
Mitral valve.
Stenosis, whether it is severe or moderate mitral stenosis.
Moderate, ma'am, because of pulmonary signs of
So
pulmonary.
the patient then have the opening snap. So which could be picked up with the A2OS opening interval. Okay. And the second thing is the duration of the murmur. So here it is, murmur is only mid-diastolic.
Yes, mid-diastolic.
Patient has developed pulmonary hypertension. So it should be moderate only.
Moderate.
It's not very severe. You get the point?
Yes.
So if the severity is due to the A2OS, you grade with the A2OS interval. Shorter the duration, the patient is having the severe. So morning. Class auditor. 5 minutes. No problem. Okay. So this is a patient having acquired valvular heart disease involving moderate mitral stenosis with the pulmonary hypertension. Okay, in failure.
Right.
Okay, in sinus rhythm. Don't say no atrial fibrillation at all.
Okay.
In sinus rhythm. But you have to look for signs of infective endocarditis because patient is having temperature. Okay, but other signs are not there. Patient is febrile. Okay, so now you tell the etiology again. You can't say the patient is having only calcific. There is nothing called calcific etiology. With the process. Okay, so still it is a rheumatic only.
Rheumatic.
Mitral stenosis, rheumatic. Tell 3 causes for the mitral stenosis.
Rheumatic heart disease.
Rheumatic heart disease and rheumatic heart disease.
Yes.
Exactly. Okay. Then only you look for the other causes. Okay. They have not found other causes. So for mitral stenosis, these are the causes. But what are the differential diagnosis for the mid-diastolic murmur?
Carey-Coombs murmur, ma'am.
Very good. The Carey-Coombs murmur, which is due to the rheumatic valvulitis, where it happens in acute rheumatic fever. Excellent. Then
Austin Flint murmur.
Austin Flint murmur, it is a functional murmur, but before that you should say organic causes. Excellent. Tricuspid stenosis. Myxoma. Somebody talking about myxoma, you bring it up now. Okay. Atrial myxomas. Okay. Then ball valve thrombus. Okay. Ball valve is basically the patient have prosthetic valve. On that they have the thrombus. That is called ball valve thrombus. Initially they used to have the Carpentier valve, St. Jude's valve, Edwards valve. So many valves are there for the mitral stenosis, they have the treatment. Okay. So prosthetic valve is ball valve. On top of it, they have the thrombus means patient has stenosis lesion. So now tell me the cause. Repeat the causes.
Organic causes, we've got Kerry-Coombs murmur in acute rheumatic fever. Then we've got atrial myxoma, ball valve thrombus. And for functional causes, we've got
Tricuspid stenosis.
Tricuspid
Stenosis. Don't forget that. Okay. Where do you get tricuspid stenosis? What are the causes? Anup. Anybody? Arishi? So hungry? You all gone out? Again, same rheumatic fever is a common cause. Rheumatic heart disease only. Okay. The other causes are the carcinoid syndrome. Carcinoid syndrome. CARCANOID. Not heard of it.
No, ma'am.
Heard of it. Same cause. Okay, but it's rare cause. But again, rheumatic fever, but it doesn't happen that commonly alone. Okay. What are the other causes for tricuspid regurgitation?
In car pulmonale, functional tricuspid regurgitation.
Yeah, these are all functional. I am talking single tricuspid regurgitation lesion.
Epstein anomaly.
Again, these are all secondary to some congenital problem, isn't it? Anything else? Infective endocarditis. Secondary to what? Infective endocarditis happening in whom?
IV drug users.
IV drug abuse. Don't forget that. Okay? Without all your rheumatic fever, all the other condition. Okay? Infective endocarditis can happen with the bacteremia or with IV drug abuse. Okay? Don't forget that. So any patient with a swinging fever, any fever for unknown origin for a long time, that's more than 3 weeks, okay, not able to diagnose, and if there is a murmur, new murmur developing, so look for the infective endocarditis. Okay? Don't forget that. So very common thing is with the infective endocarditis causing one of the cause for the tricuspid regurgitation in IV drug abuse. Okay? Excellent. Okay, ma'am.
Yes,
right? So what are the common cause for mitral stenosis? We already said. Other causes quickly.
We got SLE, rheumatoid arthritis.
Very good. Before that, congenital causes and acquired causes.
Congenital mitral
valve. Yeah, isn't it?
Or triatriatum.
Okay. Right. Okay, so go and read. And we already said about the severity, how to assess severity clinically. But of course, you have to assess by echo. Okay, echocardiogram going to give you an idea. And then the management. Management, what is the medical management as well as the surgical management? You should be aware of that. Okay, so the severity again, the severity not only by these things, by echo, what will you receive? On the size of the mitral valve and the pulmonary artery pressure gradient.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that also you should look for that. That's going to complete. Okay, shall we stop here?
Okay, ma'am.
Good. Thank you all. Thank you very much for the participation.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
See you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.